Hello and welcome to the newest installment in the incredible adventures of the unsinkable Alice Baker. Tauri is, last time it was next to the rabbit hole. Today it's called Madness Takes a Holiday. It is early September. You have just returned from 4 months away from it all, and you have returned home to Dottie, and the two of you are sitting. It's kind of like now, after you've talked, probably, I would say 12:30, because you did come home late, but not in the middle of the night. It was, let's say, 11 o'clock. And you're just basically after drinking a good cup of tea, probably the best she's ever made for you. And the last words that you said were, it would be good if the two of you just got away to kind of, if, as we would call it today, detox. And she said that this is a very good idea, but tonight she wants you to stay put so that she knows where you are. But tomorrow, for sure, one could discuss going away.
Also, Alice promised there that if they leave together. So it's not Alice's idea to leave alone, because she's done that. She knows not really helpful for anybody. So they will do that together for sure.
And then she says, you know what? You should go and freshen up and get ready, and I'll get your bed ready, because obviously for the last 4 months it's been in the airing cupboard. And she goes upstairs. Maeve is kind of doing her best pitbull impression. And she's staring you down.
Alice will very carefully approach Maeve to give her a little, like, just a few strokes, just to see if she's allowed to touch or not.
It's this, okay, you have fed me once in the past, so you may proceed, look.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not amused. There will be a lot of groveling on your part, and possibly tuna.
And Alice will also just, if we travel again, you can maybe decide if you wanna join the adventure.
She looks at you. The tail goes up.
Mm-hmm. I'm still not sure where we will go, although I have at least a rough idea. I just don't know if Dottie is up for this, and I will need to check something with university maybe. But this time we will include you if you want to join. If you want to stay here, that's totally fine.
She does the kitten activation noise.
Good. A little bit more scritches between the ears.
She
And then-
holds her head that you get, the really difficult to reach parts behind the ears. And then she basically turns around and begins walking slowly ahead of you out of the kitchen towards the staircase.
Yep, I will follow and I will make my way upstairs to
So-
freshen up and...
As you walk into the bathroom, you see that somebody, Dottie has laid out pajamas for you, and there's fresh towels and everything that you need to basically freshen up. And you can hear noises coming from your bedroom, somebody shaking out the bed and that kind of thing.
I think Alice cannot stop herself from just peeking in like, do you need a hand?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Then yeah, she will get ready and then join basically in the bedroom to probably just only have to say a big thank you for prepping everything, because by then I'm sure Dottie is ready with having everything.
And
ready.
she's also opened the window in the meantime to let in some fresh air. And then she says, all set. I'll see you in the morning.
I will do breakfast.
And she smiles and she leaves the door a little bit ajar because the cat is in there, and then you hear her make her way upstairs to the second floor where she has her room.
Alice will tiptoe downstairs and do her usual round to see if everything is locked up, because she hasn't done yet, and it feels very weird. I think she plonks herself in bed already, and she's just like, this is wrong. This feels like something is missing. So she will just go. I don't know if she will tiptoe, but she will go downstairs, definitely make her round. I'm not sure if Maeve will join her, and then she will go up to
Obviously.
bed.
Maeve is good at patrolling, and she patrols with you, and everything has been locked up, everything is fine.
I think then Alice would start again in making bonus points. So when we are patrolling, we have to go through the kitchen. So she will grab a little tiny little bit of snack, whatever she can find, if it's a piece of chicken or fish or whatever, and she will give it to Maeve.
Okay, you walked right into that one. So you go to the pantry. Make a spot hidden for me.
God,
The ghost in the pantry. Woo.
that is a 14.
That's a hard success.
Critical success.
Oh, even critical. Okay. You see a vial about this big. It's made of glass and it contains a milky white fluid.
I will. I think I will pocket. Yeah, I will take it, put it in my probably pajama pocket there, or because I don't think the trousers would have pockets. Maybe, I'm not sure.
But definitely you would have a breast
have
pocket.
a pocket here, or no, I would have a gown at the moment over that would have pockets for sure.
Even so, yeah.
On the way back up in my room, I would like make a stop in the study and would put it in the drawer of my desk. And then I would go to bed.
So you lie down. Do you turn off the light?
Yeah.
Okay. You feel more than you hear, or you also hear a little bit of a rustling sound, and then you feel a little weight land on the bed, and then a little bit of nestling, and Maeve is settling in, and yeah, and unless you want to do something else, you would now go to sleep.
I would then sleep. I'm just going through. No, that's all that I can think of for tonight. So going to sleep, and I would set the alarm clock that I would be woken up for a decent time to do breakfast.
Okay, good. So at whatever time you set, the alarm rings. You get up. Maeve is still in bed with you, and she looks at you and she does this big stretch and gets up and does the kitten activation noise.
Right, let's go breakfast. And let's find something for you, young lady. And Alice would, I think, quite happily, so with a lot of energy, she would like run down the stairs towards the kitchen. And would start making breakfast. First, she would look if there's even coffee there. I'm not sure if Dottie kept up doing coffee. If yes, then let's see. Coffee. She has not forgotten it. I rolled a 13 for coffee.
Take it!
It already has a tick. It's a hard success, yeah. Almost critical. So
it's a brilliant cup of coffee that you're making.
She's quite proud of herself. Did not forget that, because I'm quite sure. Would she have, in all her travels? Honestly, I'm quite sure she would have done coffee herself as well, because down there coffee is a thing as well.
Oh yeah.
And I think she would not only have lived in hotels, but she have also like rented rooms with maybe at least kitchenette or something like that.
I would say you would probably have had cocoa, because that's where it comes from, and definitely coffee. Guatemalan coffee is famous. So you would have had all of that, and people drink it all the time.
Yeah, and I could also imagine that in her bag that she still hasn't unpacked herself. I think it's like in the corner in her room, maybe opened at least to pull out the dirty laundry. But she would have brought back for sure some coffee and probably cocoa as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's doing breakfast, full breakfast with pancakes and bacon and toast and a little bit of everything because honestly, Dottie looks like she could use a good breakfast. And Maeve is getting here and there small bits and pieces.
Maeve approves. At some point, Dottie comes downstairs. Let's see how she's doing. 74. I think that's not enough. Yeah, no. That's 24 over her constitution. She looks ill. She really does. She's a shadow of the person that you remember.
I think Alice will then just like pull out a chair and be like, come on, you definitely look like you need a good breakfast.
She sits down and
And good coffee, and I will just pour in the fresh and nicely smelling coffee.
this coffee is excellent. This is great. She does also nibble a little bit on the food, but you can see that she's really drawn to the coffee.
Alice will be now. We have a vice versa scenario here. Alice will be watching, and she will push Dottie to eat at least a proper table. And weirdly enough, Alice will have definitely a good breakfast as well. Because as we said last session,
She's in physical
her
top,
travels,
physically in top condition.
she's physically top condition, and she did, especially in the morning, I think she really took care of having a good breakfast because then exploration started. And also, I think based on her drinking, I think most of the drinking was done in the evening
Yeah, yeah.
to be able to go to sleep. I think that's more like when everything slows down, that then that part comes in. So she's having a good breakfast.
Dottie says, I'm just not hungry, really.
You have looked at yourself in the mirror lately. Yes, you need proper food.
Yeah, I know.
Then a little bit more. Come on.
She kind of tries to eat some more, and then she looks at the table and then she says, "Oh, we're missing cheese." And she gets up and goes to the pantry, opens the door to it, and you notice that she's starting to rummage around in it.
Alice will just call out, "You will not find it there."
She turns around. What?
The stuff you are taking?
Did you take it from me?
I did not take it from you. I found it in the pantry. It stared right at me, and I said, this is nothing that should be A, in a pantry,
This is...
and B, not even in this house.
It's mine. I bought it.
It's still there. I didn't throw it out.
Can I have it, please?
Before you get it, we need to make a deal. Come on, sit down.
You're beginning to see that her eyes are starting to shift. So she's very nervous now. She sits down, but kind of like on the edge of her chair and kind of like, looking at you with intent.
Whatever happened in the last weeks, months, we both have a problem we need to get rid of. You need to stop to take that thing because you look like a walking dead. And I need to stop my old habit of drinking far too much.
This is the only way I get through the day.
We will find another way together for both of us because I have the same problem at the moment. But we are both far from what we should be and can be.
I doubt that you and I have the same problem.
We have different problems with similar results.
I have visions.
I have a lot of nightmares.
She ponders this and she says, I guess.
As I said, it's still there, and I think outside game, I'm quite sure Alice would know that cold turkey, as it's nicely put, especially with a drug like that, would be horrific for the body.
Yes, you do.
Alice knows the same for, honestly, with alcohol. I think she's been there, and she knows she's drinking a lot compared to earlier days. The idea is, when we both decide on where we go, we use that as travel to, let's say, be master of our own body again, not being pushed by alcohol or drugs, any kind. Coffee exception. Coffee always is accepted here.
She smiles weakly and she says,
one step after the other.
I made a deal.
Yes. The deal was not that you have to take drugs.
No, the deal was that I would take the mantle. And I did. So Pamela is free. What I didn't expect was this.
The question is, would it help if we carry the burden kind of together?
I did some research. Well, when it got worse, I went to see the one person that I thought might be able to help me, and who's not a deity or something supernatural. That was Maman Lavaux. She's been most helpful. But she also told me I should do some research, and I did so. There are so many prophets and seers throughout history, throughout all of the mythologies. And they have one thing in common. They're all very different. They live in different countries. But they all have one thing in common. That is that they have an anchor. The only one that didn't was the one that was crazy. And that was Cassandra. But she was cursed. Everyone else is either surrounded by priests of the deity that gives them the visions, like Delphi, or the Sibyl at Kumai, or the Norse seers, the Verva. They were just walking around and they always had somebody by their side to keep them on the straight and narrow. The only one who didn't have anyone was Cassandra. And we all know what happened to her. She went crazy.
Yeah, and I put you down that... No, we both put you down that road
You didn't
together.
do anything. You didn't do anything. I made a decision, and I don't regret it.
And
because
I left you hanging dry and alone with that decision, although I knew you took that decision.
Yeah. So this...
And I'm sorry that I abandoned you, but let's see if together we can make this work in a better way.
Maman Lavaux is my supplier. I at least know that whatever I get is the right thing and it's not contaminated.
Then we should check with her if we slowly can reduce the doses. The same with me, I suspect, would be a good thing as well. Tiny steps every day.
Tiny steps every day.
Alice would hold out the hand.
She shakes her hand and she says,
Okay.
You got away from it in Egypt. We can do it again.
Well, the good thing is we both are extremely stubborn. If we want to have something or do something, nothing can stop us. So take another bite of that food and give me a second. And Alice would run upstairs and she would grab the vial from the vial, not the file. The vial from the desk, and she would go back downstairs and put it in front of Dottie.
Dottie has started on a pancake. So you put the drug in front of her. Let's see. Oh. She looks at it and she takes another bite and another and another, and then she puts her hand over it and she says, keep it close to you if I need it. Maybe now pancake and bacon is enough.
Alice would put it in her pocket.
She rolled a 74 on her PAL, which is still a success, so...
Success. So... I promise I will not destroy it because, as I said, just to stop taking it is the worst thing you can do to your body and mind, probably.
You see, I'm used to taking it in the morning, so maybe this is one way of breaking the habit, at least psychologically speaking.
Well, then the deal is first breakfast before we touch anything. I have to say at least one thing, I kept steady that I had proper breakfast before touching any alcohol. Which surprisingly helped, because I think at least outside I'm looking, I have sadly to say, much fitter than you are.
I didn't go outside much.
I can see that. Well, it's very good for the pale teint that everyone wants to have, so you definitely succeeded on that. I failed completely because Alice is, I think, from she's tan as she has never been, because she didn't really care about being out in the sun.
And we've established that your hair is grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, an idea I have
Let's
for where
hear it.
we could go. They are, at least in Middle and South America, a lot of archaeologists are out there studying. Oh God, English is a difficult language today, where I didn't talk English at all day. They are studying the Incas, the Mayas, and all the ancient cultures there, because they're finding more and more things. I know as well that there's a really nice ship cruise going from Florida via Havana towards Mexico. I think
That
a little
sounds
bit.
brilliant.
I think sunshine and the ocean might be a nice exchange for this, what we have here. And then we can stay in Mexico for a while. I think it stops in Cancun, which would mean beach and relaxation. And we can make a stop today at the university and see if there's any kind of activities, at least nearby Cancun, and see if they need apprentices. So
Absolutely.
because we can pay for it. Usually when we pay for it, they are quite happy to get help because it's free labor.
Great.
And I think both of us could use change of scenery and could also use a proper job in between. And we both are studying the thing for a reason, because we're interested in it.
Yeah, and we're both minoring in archaeology anyway.
So it could maybe help with uni and being there, because honestly I lost definitely the whole semester to me being not there. And I'm not sure if have you been going to university or not. If you say you didn't go out much, I suspect you skipped uni the same as I did.
I did. I couldn't. You see, I couldn't shut it out.
Are you fit enough that we both get cleaned up a little? I think honestly both of us could use a first stop at the coiffeur to get our hair and everything, that we both look a little bit more decent again. And then we go to uni. We tell them that you had to basically drop the semester because you were poorly, which they believe without a blink. And for me, that I had a tiny midlife crisis and went traveling, but we would like to catch up and we would like to get some really practice in there. So real life outside digging, and as I said, we will pay for it. And let's see what they can offer us.
That's a good idea. Let's do that.
Then let's do that. And by the way, I told Maeve that wherever we go, she has the option to join us.
Dottie looks at Maeve and you hear the brrrt! And Maeve looks very proud.
Because I'm quite sure my lady will murder us if we leave again without her.
She looks at you in this uncanny way. She has understood every single word, and although you know this, it's still sometimes disconcerting.
And I think it doesn't hurt us to have someone with us that A, looks after us, and B, helps to calm nerves when needed.
A loud purring noise is coming from the cat.
So, and if we're going by boat, honestly, they don't care if you have a cat with you as long as she's not going rampage on deck. And I'm quite sure you can behave, little one. She will look over to me.
Incidentally, I saw pictures taken on the Titanic and people brought their dogs. And you could get a dog walker to walk the dogs on the deck.
I could also imagine that honestly, if you have enough money, I'm quite sure you can also
if you have enough money, you can bring whatever you like.
Yeah, and well, we know Maeve can behave if she wants to. So that would be it. Then we would finish breakfast as best as we can. We'll clean up a little bit, get clothed, and I think Alice would call her
hairdresser.
I call it fancily hairdresser. Yeah, it's coiffeur, hairdresser.
Coiffeur, yeah.
Coiffeur, because it need to be fancy, but generally hairdresser, elf choice, and she would see if they can sneak 2 people in for a little bit of cleanup.
Well, you're not just going to anyone, and you are Alice Baker, daughter of Patricia Baker, and of course they can fit you in. It may cost a little more, but you will find that out when they present you with the bill. So you go to the hairdressers. They, of course, I mean, this is like, today we get coffee these days, but they give you champagne.
Alice will not say no.
Dottie drinks. She's like, yeah, sure. And the two of you get, are you going to revert to your flapper type look with the short hair, or are you going to keep the head? Okay.
Although we are no, she would still go back to her. I think she really enjoys the short hair very, very much. So she will go back to that.
So for you, the change is quite radical now, because obviously you're losing about this much. For Dottie, she's always had long hair and she usually puts it up anyway. So now it's just cut, and now she has kind of like a style again. So it's not just so now
hanging.
it's So but it's also a really nice experience, to have somebody look after you and that kind of thing. And so it's a little bit of a small spa day. And then
that's the idea. And then when we look fresh and cute, the idea is to go to university and A, say sorry, and B, see what we can manage to get on information. Also to see, although I'm quite sure if you're paying it, you will be able to get back to the semesters. But to see if there's anything in Mexico that they know of where they would appreciate 2 apprentices that are not afraid to dig in the dirt.
You arrive, so basically you would go to your advisor. So every student has an advisor. In both your cases, it's Dr. Thomas Wilson, who works at the History and Archaeology department. And he has office hours. He is in. And he says, oh, I have not seen the two of you this term at all. What can I do for you?
Well, first of all, apologies that we both just disappeared. Um, well, Dorothy fell surprisingly ill for a while. She's still recovering, as you can see, but she's getting better. And I went out and traveled a little bit. Some might say a little midlife crisis. Um, Before we get back to uni, we would be very curious if you know by any chance of any kind of archaeology, excavation, or anything happening in Mexico that would appreciate some like assistance. Clearly, we will pay for it. I know the budgets everywhere are very tight, but I
Why,
think
yes. Interestingly enough, it's funny that you should be mentioning Mesoamerica. A colleague of mine, Morris, he's an archaeologist and he has been in charge of the dig in Chichen Itza for the last 10 years. You know, it's funded by the Carnegie Institute, but he's associated and affiliated to our university. And they're going to start the new season in October. They've got another contract for another 10 years from the Mexican government.
well, if you wouldn't mind, and I know it's a lot to ask after just dropping out from Earth for half a year, we would really be interested to help out there because I think for Dorothy, a change of climate would be, especially warmer climate, would be really good for getting back on her feet.
He looks at her and you can see that he's kind of tacitly agreeing with you because Dottie, even with the new hair, she doesn't look well.
No, and Alice
Yeah.
is playing full on that, but at least from outside you can't see. It could be any kind of health issue. It's
Yeah.
not that you can see why it's happening. I've been traveling around there for quite a bit myself, and I have to say it's really nice down there. So I think it would be good, and we would then join, or would like to join when we're back from there, obviously, to get back to our studies here.
All right, I will give Edward a call and I will write you a letter as well of recommendation. But I'm pretty sure that Edward would be happy to have two of my students work with him there. Obviously, we cannot pay you, but
As I said,
goes without saying.
I know that we can pay for our stuff ourselves. It would be just if they plan us in and there's at least, I don't know, we can organize a tent and 2 beds and you know what is needed there.
they can always use somebody who keeps the log files and who dusts off the exhibits and does some minor digging.
I can even help with drawing if it's needed, at least with sketching, wherever they could use a hand there as well. Or
Excellent.
photography. I'm quite good with photography myself.
Excellent. His wife, Mrs. Morris, is there as the artist as well, but I know that she draws. She doesn't do photography. So I'm going to let him know that he could have a photographer.
Yeah, with equipment. So
Excellent.
that might
Why
be
don't you
helpful.
just get ready and packed? Because I'm pretty sure he will say yes. But I'm going to send you a telegram. He looks at his papers and he reads you
my address,
your
so it's
address,
still,
which is
yeah, hasn't
48
changed.
West 87th Street.
Yes, hasn't changed. Will hopefully never change. And then I will make sure my equipment is up to standard, or maybe add a few more things. And I need to get film for sure, because I'm quite sure in Mexico down there it will be quite hard to get your hands on that.
Yeah, because we've established you have 2 sets of film equipment. You have the Kodak, the actual handheld, which uses film, which you have to basically move forward using your thumb. And then you have like the one with the, which is on the tripod with the plates.
Yeah.
So you would bring that. You would probably have to crate it, I believe, because it's quite big. And if you want to put it on the ship, but that's no problem at all.
Yeah.
And he says, all right, so you can expect me to send you a telegram by tomorrow evening at the latest, but you can already start making arrangements because I'm pretty sure Edward will be delighted. Delighted.
That would be
So
awesome.
I would say you can join him second week of October, which gives you enough time to get there and maybe visit the beaches of Cancun.
Yeah, we are planning to go on a small boat cruise via Havana. I heard that stopping there is quite good. I'm quite sure my dad will want me to get him some lovely cigars. Anything you need from Havana
He looks at you and then
or Mexico?
Well, if you could bring me some cocoa, I'm really
That
partial to that.
that I can do for sure. And Alice already in her head is like, if he gets us through this, she can already send him cocoa from her trip that she did
Yeah.
now. So he will get an early thank you
Mhm.
present.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think then we would say thank you, and then we would leave uni and I think go back home first of all.
Okay, so you go back home. Teresa, Dottie informs you, has not been living in the house because since you left, Teresa has only been coming in 3 times a week to do kind of like the laundry and, you know, but
We
I've been
could
paying her full wages because I didn't want to reduce that, but I just couldn't bear the company. But now that we're going away, I think it would be nice for her if she could just live in the house again because I think it's getting a little bit crammed at her parents.
if she's with her parents, then let's tell her she's free to be back every day if she wants. If she wants to have a day off to be with family, always, surely. And warn her that in a little while she will have the house for herself, but minus a cat, because we will take Maeve with us.
I will let her know. And she proceeds to write a letter to Teresa and posts it.
Um, it should be. We're in the afternoon now, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I mean, I would
based
say
on
it's
what we
already
did.
around 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So I think Alice would just go in the kitchen, would prepare some tea. She would, I think, in between look here and there how Dottie is behaving. Is she's getting like the nervousness when you actually.
Oh wow, I rolled really well. That's 13 on her power of 85. She is psychologically she's there, but you can see that she's sweating.
Yeah. Not to be pushy, but Alice would pull out the vial that she has with her. She is taking it also on trip just in case. As I said, cold turkey will not be good for your body. Maybe take at least a little.
She sits down and she gets out one of those teaspoons. She puts, she fills it.
Yeah.
And then she takes it.
Because I'm quite sure by now Alice would, she would probably add like a little something to the tea as well.
What you notice is that her pupils become very small. And the sweating stops.
So, to-dos would be travel agency, getting everything organized that we can take the boat and that we at least have a place to stay in Cancun. We will need to do some shopping. We need proper clothing for you. Mine should be washed for sure. I will need some photography, maybe with some paper and some charcoal just for drawing in case we need it. I think notebooks, pen, paper for both of us would be good. Some reading material on what we can find on the history around that place that we can prepare a bit more.
How about we share the load? I will look at the reading materials.
That's good. I will.
And
do
I
the
will take care
travel.
of the laundry because, I mean, Teresa is going to take care of the laundry.
Yeah.
We can do the clothes shopping together so that you can give me advice. You can do the travel agency because you know more about the region and you can be making more informed choices than me.
And you need to get a stack of
Notebooks?
vials from Mont Lavant for the trip, because my stuff we can get everywhere easily, yours not. And we don't want to ask any random guy in Havana or Mexico.
I will. So the two of you have a plan.
So for the next two, I think it will keep us busy at least for the next 2 or 3 days. I think Alice would see if we can leave like next week. I think a few days it will just take place. And I think in between, Alice would very carefully give her parents a call as well.
Yeah.
And she would drop a note to Pamela. And maybe also Alex, that she's there for a few days in New York, but she will leave with Dottie to go on an archaeological trip to Mexico for university.
Okay, so number one, she failed her first library use roll, but she critted on the second. So it does take her a little longer to find the books, but she does on the second day. Alex Coxton and okay, so Pamela replies to your note.
Okay.
She rings the house.
I would answer if I'm there. If not, Dottie would answer and probably like.
Yeah. So
or
basically, you end up speaking to Pamela, and she says, "You're back."
I am, although not for long, but this time leaving with Dottie and on a trip of healing and learning.
Healing and learning. That's an interesting combination.
Well, healing first, although probably all the time a little bit. We will go on a little boat cruise via Havana to Cancun. And then we will go west to help with the archaeology team that is working at Chichen Itza. We got a recommendation from our professor.
That sounds like a really good plan.
And I am sorry also to you that I worried all of you of just, well, running away. I think that's the only proper way I can point this.
Well, I can tell you this much. Dottie was terribly worried. I was too, but she was agonizing over you.
Well, at least I dropped both of you letters with signage that I'm still alive in between. I'm still scared to call my parents because they did not get any signs of life from me.
Alice.
Well, you know how my mother is.
Yeah, but I can now imagine what she's like now.
Are you at least feeling better than the last time we've met?
Yes. No more
Good.
dreams.
Good. So, you have the option if you want to go out for dinner or lunch or so
Of
before
course.
I leave again.
Of course.
So I will make an appointment with Pamela for outing, just to meet up with her. And I think for Alex, it would be more the information that I'm there but out again, so she should not worry about it being very quiet. And yes, I will keep my eyes open in Mexico for any kind of special, wonderful art that I can ship to her.
Excellent. She's delighted. And so you meet up with Pamela. Do you ring your mother?
Yeah, and she will try again a time of day where usually a mother should not
Make
be
a luck
there,
check.
but her dad should be there because she's
Make a luck check.
Oh, the dice are so evil. I rolled a 99. Mom
Oh
is
dear.
there.
Not only is she there, she's the one who answers the phone.
Freaking hell.
Baker.
Baker 2, hi, mother. Or hello, mother, not hi. Hello, mother.
Alice! What is this? I have not heard from you in 4 months. Where are you and who are you with?
I'm at home, standing in the I think it's the hallway. Yeah, the telephone is in the hallway. In the hallway.
Alice, you are in New York and you have not come to visit. What is wrong with you? This is not how I brought you up. We have been worried, sick. I tell you, sick.
I was traveling. I couldn't phone in
And you
from
couldn't
South America.
let us know that you were leaving. You have told us before. You went to Egypt. You told us. You were in France. You told us. You were in Britain. You told us. What is wrong with you?
It was quite spontaneously. I think you would say hot-headed. Also, I'm mainly calling to say A, I'm okay, to B, ask if Dad is there and I could quickly talk to him, and C, just to warn you, I will travel next week, or the travel will start again, to let me finish, to Mexico, because as you know, I went back to university to study, and they are working in Chichen Itza, which I'm not sure if you heard of, and I will help the archaeology team there.
Alice, how are you speaking to your mother? You don't just ring me and then you, after falling off the face of the earth for 4 months, and then you drop this in my lap saying, oh, by the way, I will be traveling again. Bye, mother. Who do you think you are?
But we're leaving in a few days. I don't have much time to prepare. I just want to tell you I will write from there and give you in between messages.
I can tell you, if you do not write on a daily basis, there will be hell to pay when you get back. And I will talk to your father about your trust fund, because I believe we have been spoiling you. We are just giving you too much money. I've always said to him, Richard, you're giving this girl too much money. She's still not married. She's now turning 35 this year and still not married. And we're giving her this money. We should not ever have given her that much money, because this whole independence trip that she's on, we need to get her away from that.
I'm doing quite fine, thank you.
This is what you think. Who's going to take care of you? Who is going to look after you?
I can look after myself, thank you.
This is what you think. Richard, can you please speak to our daughter, because I am done.
A long pause in the line, and then her father is on it.
Yeah.
That's. I know where Alice is getting her. She's very close to her mother than she wants to even admit.
Little one, why is it that whenever you speak to your mother, it always ends in a shouting match?
Because she does not appreciate me living the life I like living.
Where were you? 4 months is very long, even by your standards.
Well, first of all, I'm very sorry that I didn't write or call. It was very hot-headed, spontaneous idea to, others would say, run away from problems. But well, I was, and she would just point out and tell him roughly where she was. And I have a little bit of coffee I will send over to you, that you have a little bit of something. And well, as I tried to tell Mother, I'm still not sure if she wanted to realize it. I will go to Mexico together with Dottie next week to help an archaeology team there for probably a few months. I will not write on a daily basis, as Mom said, because I'm quite sure the post will not be taken or sent out on a daily basis, but I will write to you guys regularly. And since we are traveling via ship and we will have a stop in Havana, just to carefully, how is your stock on good Cuban cigars? Do you need a little bit more?
I can always use more. You know that they're a little bit more difficult to come by here in New York.
Then I will collect something and get it shipped to you. And yes, I will look for a little nice thing for Mother as well. That she's not getting jealous because you get the fancy good gifts and she doesn't.
Do you want to know a secret?
I'm listening.
Your mother cherishes what few notes, messages, and postcards she's been receiving from you over the years more than anything you could give her.
But she's criticizing every single step and thing I do.
She
It's
loves
never
you.
good enough.
She wants the best for you.
Well, I think her best is not my best, but that will, I think, never get to a point together.
Send her a couple of postcards every so often, and I can tell you this is all she will ever want.
I can.
She has them in an album, and she looks at them regularly.
I will even sneak in a letter here and there.
Please
Just
do.
make sure she's not fainting when she sees a letter from me.
I will be there, and I will have the sherry ready.
That sounds lovely. And I will have my photo equipment with me, so I can even show a little bit of pictures when I'm back.
Do take one of yourself.
I can do that. Alice, at the moment, she was like hesitant, and I was like, no, I'm looking really fine at the moment. So
You look brilliant. You
definitely
look
do
beautiful. I mean, yeah.
Would it help, Mother, if I come by to give you what I brought in person, at least for like half an hour or an hour?
She would cherish it for the rest of the year.
Then I will come by tomorrow for tea time.
I will let her know. And you can expect the best home-baked cookies ever. She will tell Cook. Cook will probably also make cake.
I know that food at home is always amazing because there are not many people who could be better than what Cook is bringing out there. So I will see you tomorrow, Father.
So he rings off.
I will tell Dottie that I have to be there tomorrow for tea time.
Dottie is delighted and she says, yes, you should totally talk to your family. It's important.
I think Alice will have probably a drink with the idea that she needs to sit together there and try to remember what her father said, that her mother appreciates every minute and she always feels like her mother really doesn't. So then preparation goes on with all the things we need to collect and buy. I think one evening Alice would pull Dottie, or more or less force Dottie to maybe visit either the cinema or the theater, at least to have one day of cultural outings before this stops when we are in the jungle.
Yeah, she is more than delighted to go. I don't know. I mean, you like the cinema because you went to see Shanghai Express during the Brushstrokes episode. So you would be au fait with what's happening. So you can pick whatever is there or go to the theater. Or maybe, I don't know, were musicals a thing back then? Or are they more recent?
I think it started back then. I'm not sure when the first Broadway
or kind of like music theater would have existed, or those, you know, like those shows. So basically you have a lovely evening with whatever cultural thing you want to attend, and then it's the day before you have to leave. You're packing. You have those big trunks because now it's planned traveling. You don't have to carry everything yourself. You have created your equipment. You have a carrying bag or a carrying box that you can put Maeve in that also contains food and water compartments. You bring a litter box, obviously. And you take a taxi to how do you is is it that you go to Florida first by train and then you take a ship, or do you
Yeah,
take? Okay, so you
I
go to
think
the central. Do you go to New York Central Station?
it's a good question. I'm not even sure if there is a train line down south to
I
Florida.
believe. I mean, there should be a train. What are cities in Florida?
Well, it would be Miami, quite sure, because that,
Jacksonville, Miami. There would have been trains because
well,
at
a lot
that
of,
point, the United States was crisscrossed by train lines. So I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that there must be a
Then
north-south train line.
then we would go down to when I think during that time already Miami was probably one of the biggest, so probably towards Miami because
Yeah,
just assuming blindly that the cruise ships or cruise, yeah, it would be tiny cruise ships would leave from there.
yeah.
And
And I
I'm
mean,
just
today I believe that Miami has a very large Cuban immigrant group because of the revolution. So it could be that even back then there were ties because back then the United States and Cuba were very close. So it could well be that this is, and Miami is well known for its Art Deco,
yeah,
um, Viertel. God, I can only think of Cartier.
district.
District, and so this would have been built around that time because 20s, 30s, so it would have been a vibrant city back then.
Yeah.
And you take a ship, and it takes you straight to Havana. It is a cruise ship, so this means that there is onboard entertainment, there is music, there is excellent food. You've got a really lovely cabin. Havana is beautiful. It's where the rich go. There are plenty of Americans there. And I mean, Cuba was a very rich country as well. Sugar, rum, tobacco. And it is a great place. So you can of course get cigars. You can go to the casinos if you so choose. And then it's time to take the ship to Cancun. I'll just say that Cancun has a harbor. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you
it's
arrive.
at the coast. It must have had a harbor during that time as well.
Yeah.
Also, I just checked up. Musicals started much earlier. So
Okay.
so a big wave started end of 1800 something. So we would
Okay.
have also the chance to see a musical, opera, theater, all kinds of things on Broadway.
Okay, so you have picked whatever was happening
Yeah.
then, what you would be interested in. Possibly I could imagine that it would be for you even interesting to do some avant-garde stuff. So not like, the well-trodden parts, but if there is something new happening.
I think I would more look for something that is light-hearted and entertaining. I think we have enough drama in our lives, so I think in theater we want easy entertainment. I think
Okay,
so
so you go for
comedy or
easy
something like
entertainment.
that. Yeah.
And then you arrive in Cancun and you have booked accommodation, but you've decided to kind of go for not a big hotel, but kind of like more like a chalet type thing.
hmm
With a little bit of a private beach, but within walking distance of, like it's touristy, obviously, because back then tourism was already happening there. And where you can do shopping. You can also book servants. So you can book services as well. You can say, okay, send somebody to do the shopping for me, send somebody to do the laundry. So this would work. It's more like a self-catering kind of sort of village.
hmm
And the weather is gorgeous because
That's
it's
good.
now late September, early October. So it's not as hot as it might have been in summer. But I mean, it's still kind of like warm. It's Mexico.
Yeah, so I think in Havana I would definitely have bought some cigars for father and something nice for mother.
You
I
could
don't know.
possibly even have sent it back home from
And I
Havana.
would, yeah, I think I would have. And then from Cancun, I would see what I can get for them as well. And I would at least write here and there to mother that she knows I'm alive. And I think in between, Pamela would also get at least a postcard. Just like
Would
how
your
gorgeous.
your mother is very much into art, isn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
Like you. Well, what you could definitely have gotten is because Chichen Itza became very famous in the late 19th century because of a man who, God, where is he again? John Lloyd Stevens, who published a book called Incidents of Travel in Yucatan in 1843. And the book, you can still buy it today, by the way. And it is very famous because it was illustrated by a man named Frederick Catherwood. He was actually the first, or they were the first Westerners to draw and report on those Maya and Incan, only Maya cities, including Chichen Itza. And this book was, it took the Western world by storm, and it led to kind of like a little bit like it was later with Tutankhamun. In the late 19th century, there was this huge drive to find out about this because they really apparently there was only jungle, and then they kept walking and traveling, and then these ruins just emerged, and they really had to hack them free. Whereas, of course, the pyramids had always been there for several thousand years, and there'd been kind of an unbroken storytelling of, you know, there is Egypt and blah blah blah. And this was something that people didn't realize. And then the first photographs were taken in 1859 and were widely published. And of course, you would definitely be able to get photographs there, to get paintings and drawings there, and you could get some of those and send them home.
I'm quite sure Dottie and I would have read the book for sure, for impression on in preparation or during the trip, because the boat trip and so on, and staying in Cancun, we would have enough time to read. And yeah. So we will enjoy Cancun, and Alice for sure will work on, let's say, drinking every day a little less.
Okay.
I'm not sure how Dottie, if she tries to do the same thing. At least Alice would try to help and encourage. Also not sure if Dottie will ever start talking about visions or whatever she has, because Alice will not push it. But she will always in between confirm to Dottie that she's there to talk, to listen, to whatever is needed.
Okay, so I rolled an 85, which hits her POW. So it is, again, more physical than psychological. So it's really, she seems, so what you notice is, number one, she is eating again. She's beginning to fill out. So it could be that the fact that she was alone with, she didn't have an anchor, was a problem. So at the moment, it's really physical. And you notice, again, she starts sweating. But she is also, let's see what her sanity says. On a 33, that's below her sanity. She realizes that this is doing damage to her and she should reduce it and she should get back on it. And she is trying to cut down. And I mean, this is a process. I mean, you've now been traveling for, let's say, 3 weeks. She is taking, you don't know if she's taking less because you don't know how much she was taking before, but she is now at a stage where she isn't taking something every day. So probably also the fact that you're there, but also that you are doing stuff and she's not alone and kind of like curling in on herself helps. She's getting distracted. And also probably the fact that it's a holiday, you know, like lying on the beach, being warm, being carefree, possibly, that helps.
Yeah.
You do notice one thing. She never used to be a big drinker, but she's she's not drinking now. She's not an alcoholic, but she does, you know, like rum and coconut milk and stuff like that. So she is not maybe replacing one drug with another, but she is branching out. The only thing she doesn't touch is tobacco, actually. She doesn't smoke.
Well, Alice is definitely smoking, and based on the rolls I did, Alice is struggling to get away from alcohol because I failed 3 times POW check.
Okay.
So she is struggling for sure. She has good and bad days, I suspect.
Do you think Dottie would notice that you're struggling?
Maybe, because I don't think Alice would hide it.
So-
So because Alice is still worried about Dottie, and also I know Dottie made the decision, but Alice is Alice, so she puts a lot of fault of that on her shoulders, especially since she left Dottie hanging alone with the drama. And she's, I think, not every day, but every second or third day, wishing the deities the worst thing on earth, because she's still very unhappy with the situation. And it's basically, I think it turns here and there into, it's actually their fault that we are in this situation.
So one evening you're sitting outside on the veranda. Dottie says, "It's difficult for you, isn't it?"
Yep. Because the worries are still there, and the hate is still there, and well, and she probably, during that speak, I could imagine she has a drink in her hand. That makes everything a bit easier, especially it takes away the nightmares. How are you holding up? At least you look better.
Well, you see, I don't know. I've never really told you about what it feels like. It's like I suddenly see something. You know, sometimes I would see a train wreck, and then I would read about it in the papers a couple of days later. But I've never been able to actually see something and then make it not happen. Because quite often I simply don't know where the things are happening that I'm seeing or when. It's just that I see visions of the future. But I'm pretty sure that if I knew, I might be able to change something. Because the gods and the sister said that we, unlike them, have free will.
Well, if you have a next vision, we can see and try if we can figure it out together.
The only thing that I can't do is I can't direct it. And I spoke to my Maman Lavaux about it, and she says that this is the seer's curse. I can never ask myself to see something. I can only react to what people ask of me. So a prophet reacts to what the gods say and says it. A seer can be asked by others for information, and then she may see.
Well, I don't think I want to ask much at the moment, but
I don't want you to ever ask me anything.
I will not. The only thing that we can try, if you see something, maybe with you describing what you've seen, and maybe me like asking a little more, like which color did the train have, or did you see a logo? You know, the little things that you don't really have in mind up front, but if someone pokes you to it, it's like, oh yes, there was, I don't know, like a bird on the train, whatever. Maybe we can find something.
Maybe.
At least it might be worth a try, only if you feel comfortable.
But I really don't think I ever appreciated what the nightmares did to you. I couldn't imagine it, but it's like you can't shut it out. Just like I can't shut it out. Even if I don't want to think about it, I don't ever know when I will see something. And it can happen not only at night when I'm asleep, it can happen during the day.
Which at least I have sanity during the day. The nights are the bad times. But we will get through this.
I will not ask you not to drink. But I will be here if you ever want to talk about it.
Well, the same. I will not ever ask you not to take that stuff anymore, but I'm also here. And as we promised or made a deal, we will both try to reduce more and more. Because I think we both know without, we are better.
So just 5 more days and then it's off to Chichen Itza. She has basically started to read about it. She's also got the book of Catherwood and what's his name? John Lloyd Stevens. So you've also seen it. You've also read all of the information that Augustus Le Plongeon and his wife Alice Dixon Le Plongeon wrote in 1875. So they were the first people who actually excavated stuff. And other people have been, writing things like Biologia Centrali Americana. So there's a lot of stuff that you can rely on, a lot of stuff that you can read, and a lot of stuff you have been reading. And I would even go so far as to say you would probably have tried to find publications by the Carnegie team, because they have been digging at this stage for 10 years. They would have been publishing. So I suppose even just in order to prep, to kind of understand more what these guys are doing, I would assume you would have looked
Definitely,
at stuff.
we prep there. Also look at any kind of nature ideas on that we know what kind of animals are around there, especially dangerous ones. And I think at least Alice, and I could imagine Dottie as well, that we have a quite large of notes in our notebooks already, just with all information that we think might be interesting.
And you would also have seen this. You would have seen the. Can I actually make this smaller? This is. Okay, there's only like 2 views. You would have seen this.
Okay, show me. But I will also move just quickly to close the door, so I will still be there. I will be listening and talking, but I need to get myself out of this on cable. I tried to behead myself earlier today by
Oh my God, please don't.
wrapping the cable around my neck. I don't want to repeat that. And I see something. Chichen Itza.
So this is basically a map of the excavation site. I don't believe that they had those 3 hotels way back when. I would be very surprised.
Yeah.
But basically what the guys from Carnegie would have excavated in the previous 10 years is the Juego de Pelota. So basically this is the ball playing field, as it were. They were the ones that found the Templo de los Guerreros. So they would have found this, and not only found but brought it completely out of the jungle. And I think, let me just see what the last one was that they would have been doing. Whoops, no. Bam, 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 bam. And the Caracol. And at the same time, as you can see here, the Mexican government excavated and restored El Castillo temple of Kukulkan.
Okay.
So
they worked side by side.
They worked side by side. So when you get there, it is. I mean, this is the huge pyramid that everybody knows, the Kukulkan pyramid. So you would have seen a huge area already completely excavated and ready to be visited. So it would have been a really interesting sight to see, even just to go for a stroll. But they are still working. They have another 10 years ahead of them. There are also some cenotes. So basically, those are the those underground huge water-filled caverns that they used for both. And this is something that I find always a bit weird, because they used it both for water supply, but they also put people in there to kill them as a sacrifice. I'm just always wondering, how does the water not get contaminated? But apparently, maybe they had different ones. So some of them, they would have excavated, they would have checked them out and would have found stuff. And so there is, at this stage, plenty to see, plenty to do. And here's actually an old picture of what it looked like, the Kukulkan, before it was fully excavated in 1882. So even then, it was visible.
Really impressive, yeah.
Very impressive, yeah. So,
And a lot of cleanup work to be done. Holy cannoli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically you arrive. And I would say that there was probably some form of, I wouldn't call it hotel, but there would have been a place where tourists can stay, a hostel, kind of, because people would have to go there somehow. I'm pretty sure it wasn't easily reachable today. I believe there are roads, you can park there, there's a museum, but back then people would really have had to travel there. And for the crew, like yourselves, you would be living in a tent town.
In a tent town, yeah.
So you know this from Egypt, so this is not unusual. However, you are used to this, but you're now in the jungle. And for Dottie, this is completely new because it's wet, although rain again is still scarce. But it's wet, it's humid, and it is super dangerous because you've got jaguars. Because Egypt, wildlife, unless you fall into the Nile and get eaten by a crocodile, it's not that dangerous. I mean, because there are no more lines where the wildlife isn't as dangerous in Egypt as it is in the jungle, because that's wilderness.
Yeah.
And you have creepy crawlies, spiders and stuff. So it is different from what you have experienced so far. The excavation team are very happy to see you. And also actually his name was Earl Morris, not Edward. That's my mistake. So Earl Morris is the head of the excavation team. His assistant is Monroe Amsden, Amsden. John Kilmartin is an engineer who works there, and then of course we have Mrs. Morris, who is the artist, and S.G. Morley, he's the associate of the institution in charge of the Chichen Itza project. So I believe he's more like a project manager, probably making sure that all of the supplies are there, logistics, quartermaster, that kind of thing. They are all very happy to see you, and Morris says to you, so you are here to help and to take photographs.
Yes.
Amongst other things. Okay, so let me introduce you. And he introduces you one by one. What are you wearing? Because everybody's wearing trousers, so I assume you as well.
For sure. Alice, I think in Cancun it would be more dresses and comfy, wavy beach type clothing. Here she would be a full linen explorer outfit. So really, here it's not about looking pretty, it's about being functional. And she would have made sure Dottie got at least a similar set of clothing, also pushing Dottie into, believe me, trousers are the better option.
Yeah, you all end up in trousers and also in very high boots.
Yeah,
to ensure that nothing crawls up your pant leg as you're walking around in the jungle, and you're all wearing hats.
Yeah.
And basically, they put you to work immediately because they have just come across an interesting find. They've come across a find that consists of 9 stelae. You've seen stelae before, but these are very different from the ones in Egypt. They are covered in carvings. So they have been carved. At this stage, people still couldn't read the Maya script. That didn't happen until, I want to say, the 50s or 60s. So at that stage, people didn't know that this isn't necessarily art, but that this is a writing system.
Yeah.
However, some of the stelae, because what I didn't realize, there are people there who are Mayan to this day. And they basically know that these things exist, and they have local oral history that explains what this is that you're seeing. So they would have been able to identify some stuff. So even back then, Kukul Khan's name was known. So people saw that this is this feathered serpent, and they would have had the name Kukul Khan told to them by the natives. And of course, what I also forgot is there are still writings from the Spaniards, because especially the church people, before they killed everybody, they just wrote down whatever they told them. And the information is there, and they found 3 stelae that they are very interested in. And I've got a picture.
That is something.
And when I read this in the book, I had to laugh. These are 3 stelae, and they are identified as Coatlicue, Tlaltecuhtli, and Koya. I will not even try to explain what this, I will not even try to pronounce it.
Yeah.
These are the 3 sister goddesses.
They are everywhere.
They are the mother of blah, blah, and blah. When I saw this in the book, I had to laugh. These are 3 mother goddesses of the region.
They are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Every freaking belief system.
Yes. And here you can, and they will, and I mean, you can see here that this is really art depiction. This is not writing. This is really depicting the goddess up here, and then people making an offering down here. And Mrs. Morris has been drawing them, but they now want you to also take pictures. Because drawing them is one thing, but having photographic evidence, of course, is completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're confronted with 3 sisters again.
I think when we are shown these and they tell us about 3 sisters, I think Alice will have an immediate reaction that she can't even stop herself, just like, they are everywhere. Just without really thinking properly about it.
Dr. Morris turns in, she says, I beg your pardon?
I'm not sure, but there are a lot of belief system out there, and 3 sisters deity-like are spread all over, and now I find a new version of them in this belief system. It's quite impressive.
He draws on his pipe and he says, quite right, quite right. And it's interesting that you would observe this as well, because this is the one thing which puzzles me, because it is understandable that every culture has deities that represent certain natural phenomena like thunder or rain or birth and death. Here we have a deity that you don't find anywhere else. It's the corn god. He is the fertility god. As far as I know, he's the only male god that I have ever heard of that is associated with fertility. But of course, he is associated with the corn, which of course in Europe didn't exist. But again, here we find 3 sisters, which don't seem to have which don't seem to represent any particular concept, like the Moirai in Greek mythology or the Norns in Norse mythology, the Astarte. It's interesting, isn't it? Maybe there is a universal concept at work here.
Well, they seem to be one set of deity that are everywhere. I know especially between Greek and Roman, you can more or less match everyone to a counterpart in the other side, but latest at the North mythology and so on, it slowly changes, but here it's, well, but it's quite impressive that it's still here and standing in more or less one piece.
And you know what is even more interesting? We are in a Maya city. This isn't Mayan.
Alice would stare closer at everything. Just, I would suspect, based on how the figures are carved into, I guess, stone. Does it for Alice look different than all the other pictures and things we've seen in the books?
Make either an art or art history or arts and crafts check if you have it, because you do have stuff there.
Yeah, I think history would be good. 21 is good. It's a success. Oh, I
Okay.
can tick it. I can tick it.
Ticket!
And that is one where at least I have a higher chance on raising that up.
And as a matter of fact, yep, you notice that it is different indeed. It looks different. The art is different.
Do you know any chance from, or what does it compare to? Is it Inca or something else?
It does compare to Aztec art. However, the Aztecs never made it here, so we don't know, because the stone is definitely local. So of course you could explain it away by saying some Aztec artists came here and were asked to carve stone images, which, considering that these are deities, is kind of at odds with the fact that this is a very religious site anyway. You know, why would you then bring in, it's a little bit like, I don't know, bringing a Buddhist idol and placing it in the Vatican.
Although the Aztecs and Mayans, they have at least a few things in common. When I look about our serpent feather deity, they all have a similar version of that.
Yeah, they call him Quetzalcoatl, but he's the same as Kukulkan. You're absolutely correct there. Yes. It's very interesting because we don't really see that mixture. So
maybe they had more contact than anyone expected so far. That might be a nice find for at least a proof that the Aztecs were around here, or they at least, I don't know, traded with the Mayan maybe.
I really see that you are an archaeologist, because this is exactly what we're thinking. And this is why it's so important to get this absolutely right, because a find is one thing. An artifact is one thing, but it's always important to have it in situ, to understand the setting in which it has been found. Even if it was put there over the course of time, it tells us something, which is why we need to ensure that whenever we find something, we document it where we find it, in exactly that position. We don't move it until this has been measured and counted and put together. And then we can think about moving it. But this is exactly why you're here, because this is very special.
Then let me set up everything and take a picture.
Do
so
you have
Alice will
photography
use.
as a skill,
I'm
actually?
quite sure. Let me see.
Then you can make a roll with advantage.
But I'm quite sure. Didn't I have it, or did I just make it up?
Because I think you rolled on this before.
I think we used arts and craft for it.
That
I'm
could be
quite
it.
sure.
Yeah. Then just roll on that with advantage, because you're taking your time. You're setting up the big guns, basically, where you place them, where you have to wait for the exposure to happen and stuff.
Let's see, arts and craft. That is I will spend 1 luck, and then it's a hard success. 21.
Okay, and ticket. And for the next couple of hours, you expose plate after plate, and this takes a long time, because obviously the exposure is time is.
The good thing is these things should not be moving, so they should be quite
No.
crisp on frame. If not, something is really scarily off.
And then basically the you have plate after plate, and then well, you have to develop them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your stuff with you. And then in the evening, because that's probably something you would do in the evening, because when
Yeah.
it's dark, I don't know, did you require red light for those back then as well? Or is it just modern film that requires red light for, or modern film, I mean today it's all digital, but back then, you know, you had the red light.
I
That,
think during that time it was at least similar way.
yeah.
It hasn't changed that much how you
So
develop.
what you would have is you would have brought some kind of red lantern things that you can have and work in red light.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that Dottie would keep you company. Also, you've got
I could
Maeve.
also show and teach
Yeah.
Dottie if she wants a
Mm-hmm.
bit more about photography if she's interested in.
Oh, she's very interested.
Yeah.
You also have Maeve. Maeve basically is now in the jungle. She's where her big brothers and sisters are. She's a natural. She started hunting. And she brings all kinds of presents. Mice are probably the least problematic. She brings a tarantula. Maeve is a big hunter.
I think in a very polite way, Alice would be like, Maeve, we don't need gifts from you. We really appreciate that. And we know you are an amazing hunter. But if you don't want to eat it, maybe just leave it alive. And please
Um,
don't start gnawing on that tarantula. No, no, no. That's not tasty.
She lets go. The tarantula starts scampering through the tent. Dottie's like, "What are you doing?" And she pulls the bed sheet and throws it over the animal.
Together we will drag it outside and shake it basically. And usually the animals are more scared than anything and they will
Yeah.
rush off. You know that the tarantula is not deadly fast, right? It's just creepy.
Maeve looks at you and she's nonplussed. I mean, seriously, there are these two incompetent, naked cats who cannot hunt, and she gives them presents and they just throw them out.
Maeve dear, what we would really enjoy is like pretty leaves or pretty feathers or things like that. But just the feathers, not the bird attached to it.
Maeve needs stats. 31. She keeps her cool. She doesn't claw you.
I think also Alice would have at least packed quite a bit of canned things, maybe also canned tuna or little things where we can treat Maeve with as well. In between, not every day, but at least here and there. And Alice would, I know you are our hunter and protector, and we appreciate it a lot. You don't have to prove it every day.
She hears
We
that and she sits up.
believe in you.
And she then starts to sit in front of the tent, or basically in the tent entrance, and she's guarding you now.
That's much better. And then we hope at least that not every day something creepily will be brought home, because I could imagine in between Maeve will still drag things to the tent because she's still a cat.
She's still a cat, she hunts, but she doesn't give you offerings anymore. She now just eats.
Yeah, that's much nicer for us. And yeah.
And so you develop the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Now make a spot hidden.
Let's see. So.
Oh, and I guess Dottie could also make a spot hidden.
Yeah. So I would.
Well, at 81, she sees nothing.
I rolled a 92. I see nothing either. The only thing I'm focusing on, does it look properly developed? So
Yes.
she wouldn't look on content. It would be more like, does it look waggly? No, it was really crisp and
Absolutely,
everything is
yes.
good.
It's crisp. It's in focus.
The rest I don't see anything, or we both
No,
don't.
you see nothing. But what you can do while I'm thinking about it, can you please give yourself history, Mesoamerica, and a 20% there? Because obviously you have been doing research and you've had plenty of time, and you are now in the middle of something. So you have already something that you can compare this to.
20.
And things like, oh, there is, and you proved it yourself because there is like the feathered serpent and stuff. So so you have both 20% there. And the and then you give the plates or the developed pictures, then I suppose the
It would
developed
be pictures,
photographs. You give them to
the plates I would store to make sure that they are not destroyed and keep them in the dark out of the sun. And then I would have photo paper and development stuff with me to
Okay, so you hand this
develop
over to the archaeologists who look at this. Let's see what they see.
please. Better eye.
34.
That's definitely better than what Dottie and I did.
Okay, then basically there are 3 meals a day, and you're more than welcome to eat with everybody else. They have a local cook, and they, I mean, I would assume that mostly it's yams and corn, maize that's being cooked. And with regard to meat, probably, I mean, yeah, they would be eating llama and stuff and monkeys and
Chicken always, because you can keep chickens easily and have eggs for breakfast and here and there in between. Not every day, but at least in between.
Okay, so it's really this, and then of course lots of green plants, because isn't the eggplant also from definitely tomatoes, because they are Southern American.
I think veggies and
veggies
fruits,
are there, like
kind of,
and you learn the rule, or Dottie now learns the rule that you learned before: if you can't cook it, boil it, peel it, you can't eat it. So and of course there are coconuts. And
an option. I think Alice would have also brought a few things. Again, what could be either dry goods, like also
rice and stuff,
salt, pepper, rice, things like that, or a few canned things just to add for the cook.
And you are introduced to something. Make a luck roll.
God. Let's see. No.
Okay. You're introduced to something that you hadn't seen when you were in Latin America before. People chew on green leaves. And the archaeologists inform you that this is coca. And they offer you some.
As a player, is like, no. For Alice, it's the best new addiction thing coming up. Great. She will try it for sure.
Yeah,
she
and
tries
so does Dottie. Yeah. And you start eating or chewing on coca plants, leaves. And I always wonder, if they were used so widely, why isn't everyone a cocaine addict there? Is it just that they can control it because they just eat it kind of like, it's raw and so not refined, and that's why it's less dangerous? Because I mean, it's cocaine. It's the basis of cocaine.
I don't know. Maybe it's not as compromised as the stuff we have now, because it's not processed. I honestly never thought about that. So I would imagine it is like a lighter version, so maybe less horrific than what.
Yeah, because it's still eaten today, and it's not like the whole all of these countries are completely depopulated. People can take them and eat it, and it doesn't really seem to bring down the economy and the social life. So essentially, you're and I mean, I suppose it'll do a couple of things. It'll give you more energy. It'll reduce your pain or it will increase your pain resistance, and basically, yeah, you're a lot less tired. So, and then at one of these evenings, like maybe 2 days after you've given them the photographs, Morris and his colleagues are discussing the fact that and he basically approaches you and he says, Alice, with regard to your photographs, when you took them, did you notice anything unusual?
No. What did we miss?
And when you developed them, was there anything odd, or maybe did you, I mean, don't get me wrong, but maybe was there something off with the chemicals you were using? Did you notice anything? Maybe they had deteriorated in the heat?
No, everything worked perfectly fine and the pictures look crisp and perfect as they should.
Crisp and perfect. And he takes one and he shows it to you and he says, look.
Alice is looking, is the question.
Make a spot hidden with advantage, because he gives you a magnifying glass.
Well, without the advantage, it would have been a fail again. She would need glasses. No, it's a hard success.
You see that it looks like two pictures were taken over each other on the same plate. I mean, doubly exposed or something, because over the stelae of this one of the sisters is a face, a human face, and it's Lady Jane's face.
Self-control. Is that power?
Sanity.
Sanity.
Oh, Dottie passes with a 24.
Alice fails with an 86. So Alice probably
take a
eats
D4
and just drops it. Mm-hmm. And oh god, let me.
Do you have a D4 or do you want me to?
No, I can add whatever I want to the app. That is a 3.
Okay, you lose 3 sanity.
I don't like that, but I definitely deserve that.
Did you drop the photo?
Yeah, she would drop the photo and she would do like a jump and a squeak, just in surprise.
Okay, Morris with a 20 recovers quickly, because he is kind of like, he didn't expect that reaction, because he's not criticizing your work, he's just asking. And you're not giving off the air of somebody who has been criticized or who has been put out by somebody else's remark, but you seem genuinely scared.
Yeah, it's I think shocked is more.
Or shocked. Okay, shocked.
I think shocked is really.
So
that,
he basically puts out 2 hands, and then he bends down. He picks up the picture and he says, "That's not quite what I expected."
She can't be in there.
You know that woman? Because we don't, and we were wondering where this came from. So we were wondering, maybe there was, had you used this plate before and accidentally exposed it in a portrait and then re-exposed it here. I don't know the first thing about photography and if this is even possible, but to me it looks like there is a blend of 2 pictures.
Well, it's clean plates for sure, so no, but Alice would look over to Dottie. Well, the face, you will know when you are into Egypt.
Are you saying it to Dottie or to Morris?
No, to Morris, but I would skeptically look to, because Alice is torn between which explanation she gives, but she will basically tell them that it looks like Lady Jane, which they met in Egypt, and she's a specialist there and does tours there, and Alice swears she never took a picture of Lady Jane.
Which you didn't, because you didn't even have that equipment with you.
And I have no idea how her face. Let me try again. Let me have a look at the plates and see if something got messed up there. And if not, I can take new pictures.
All right. Good, thank you.
Was her face on all three of them, or just on one?
He just showed you one.
Okay, then before the other two are fine, or are there faces as well?
There is one more that has a face. The third one doesn't. And he hands you this one.
Alice will just prepare for her own face on it, and just peek.
It is. This is why we thought it might be, because this looks very much like you.
Alice will just look at Dottie. I'm gonna murder them. I don't know how, but I'm very sorry. This should not have happened.
Has this happened before? Because you make it sound like this is a common occurrence.
Well, the three sisters are just a ride to explore, and I'm still surprised to meet them here again.
What now?
Never mind. It must be some mix-up. I'm really sorry. I will fix that, and we will have proper pictures from them.
All right.
Or at least the two. One is already good. So, and Alice will just surprisingly quickly, so a little bit hectic, just struggle to get up and will rush into the tent, and we'll have a look at the plates. So they are developed, so you should be able to have a look at them without destroying them. And she wants to have a closer look with a magnifying glass if the plates have the same on there.
They do.
They can't leave us alone, can they? Turning to Dottie.
I mean, you know what I would wonder? If somebody else had taken pictures, would they also have seen those faces? Or is it because you made the exposures that the pictures show up?
Alice would probably look a little bit up, just like, could you freaking get out of my work pictures? I understand that this is linked to you. I understood that beforehand, but could I please take 2 proper pictures tomorrow without you messing with everything?
Dottie hands you a coca leaf. Maybe chew on this.
Alice will chew on it, and she will prepare everything that probably not today, but tomorrow morning, because it will take a while. She will give a second round of trying to take pictures of the 2.
Make an arts and crafts roll with advantage.
And let's see. And during the whole time, she would be like, stay out of it. I know you're here, but please let me take 2 proper pictures. With advantage, you say. That is a success.
Okay, you take 2 pictures, you develop them. You look at them with a magnifying glass. Make a spot hidden with advantage, please. And Dottie will as well. On a 100, she sees nothing.
I rolled a 17, which is a hard success.
She rolled a 95. She's like, I don't know about you, but this looks completely blurry.
If a hard success is enough, if not, I can spend 3 luck to make it critical if it's worth it.
First of all, to you, it's not blurry, and maybe she needs glasses. But you also see nothing at all. You just see the Stela as it should be. There is no overexposure. There is nothing. There is no blending. Nothing. It looks perfect.
She will have a look upstairs and just like, thank you very much. And she will then take picture or develop the pictures and have a double check on the pictures just to be
They are
sure
fine.
that they are fine as well, and then hand it over to Morris.
You hand it over. Morris looks at them. He is delighted, absolutely delighted, and then basically you also notice that they are taking copious notes, but they also have a travel typewriter. So every so often, one of them will sit down and actually write down a manuscript, which they then send off. And so time passes. It's now your third week. Yeah.
I think when we finish with the pictures and everything is fine in like the second round, Alice would basically just turn to Dottie and be like, "Have you ever tried touching the
You mean the
stones?"
stealer? No.
Yeah. So we know which is whom.
Yes, this one is you. This one is Lady Jane. So this one
is
should
the
be the
missing
third sister.
This is the missing sister. So I'm not sure if it would trigger anything, but
Maybe we wait until everybody is somewhere else and then I do it.
yeah, I think that's worth a try.
Okay, so after a while, because they have different areas that they look at, you're on your own, the two of you, you approach the stealer, and Dottie breathes in deeply, exhales and says, "Here goes nothing," and puts her hand on the stealer, for which you didn't have a visual representation of one of the goddesses.
And Alice is like there to either hold her if she faints, falls, or whatever, trying to prepare for whatever happens, if anything happens.
And she basically withdraws her hand and she says, "Ow."
What? Ow?
And she holds it up and you can see it's like her fingers are frosted over. It's ice cold. And she touches you lightly on the hand and her hand is freezing. It's like fingers of ice are touching you.
Are they warming up now that she
Yeah,
let
they
go
are.
of it? Okay. Alice will very curiously also touch the stone, just
You
because
feel
she's
nothing.
yeah,
it's,
because
it's warm, as you would expect it, because the sun has been beating down on it, so it's warm. But not hot, it's warm.
does that, well, it seemed to mean that the third one is somewhere where it's freezing cold.
I saw something really weird. I saw something that looked like frozen rivers. Like moving water that had frozen to the core. If this is where she is, it's definitely not here, and she looks around. This is so weird. I'll touch it again. But this time she actually puts, kind of like she withdraws her hand into her sleeve and then she touches it. And she says, "Still the same. I see the same thing."
Frozen rivers. Icy cold.
Do you think this is where she is?
Maybe. The whole thing started. The whole thing. So the dryness and weather phenomena and so on. It started in Canada, didn't it?
Well, it actually started around the world, that water has not been falling from the skies and stuff like that. But the one that you're referring to, this dust storm, it started in Canada and then trekked south. Well, kind of sort of south, but also very much to the east.
Well, it might be an option that they are somewhere very far in the north as one option, or they're Sorry. Somewhere completely different. But they are definitely not here. I'm with you on that.
Maybe we should tell them, because they said that they didn't know where she was. We could tell them, go and look for frozen rivers.
Well, I'm quite sure they are listening in on us because we can't stop that.
She looks up like you do and she says, go and check out the frozen rivers. That's where your sister probably is.
Let's
I
see.
don't have an address.
We don't even know if it's this planet or another plane. World.
She looks at
Deity
you, she's like,
thingy.
what?
Well, you remember the
Oh, of course.
cat universe?
But I don't think it was Ulthar, because remember, old Toby said that
No,
it's always
Ulthar would not.
no, and he also said that it's always a September afternoon, a warm September afternoon at 3:30. So you know,
No, but there might be other places like that from other deities.
that is true.
Maybe. But hey, okay.
The two of you look at the sky, kind of like expecting
Mm.
something to happen. Nothing happens.
I think then we would probably just shrug and then slowly go back to camp or do whatever work we still have to do.
Mhm.
And move on with daily life in camp and working with Morris and his team.
Okay. At one point in time, at night, you dream. Now, I'm not sure what this dream would do to you, because you dream and it is you who is running. Well, you are seeing through the eyes of someone that's running. It's running on 4 legs. And you're hearing yourself panting because you're making a lot of speed. And you see kind of like a lolling tongue hanging out of your, what is best described as jaws with really sharp teeth. So some kind of predator. Do you look at, let's say, your paws?
Yeah, because I would be curious if I see cat paws.
No,
That would
it's more
be a
like the
first
dog kind. So basically
Okay.
non-retractable claws.
Mm-hmm.
And you are dark gray. And your paws are huge. And you run.
What is my surrounding? Do
You
I run
are
through darkness, or?
in a very, very dense pine forest. So lots of pine trees, fir trees, non-deciduous trees anyway. And you can feel that it's quite cold because you can see your breath coming out and freezing, and you also notice that you're sweating, and your fur, your pelt is wet with sweat, so with lather, and it's cold. And you sometimes also see little pads of snow between some of the trees. And you run.
Okay.
And suddenly you come the trees, you break free from the trees and you come to, well, what is best described as frozen rivers. Like water, I mean, imagine it if you had a waterfall and you had not one but many, and they had frozen in place. So it's not like it's a wide river and you just have those ice flows on them and you could walk. It's really like streaming water that has been frozen in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the sun as it's slowly sinking. And you open your maw and you swallow the sun. And everything goes dark. Do you think you would wake up? Would you consider this a nightmare, or would you just keep sleeping? Because to my mind, it's either. You can choose how you react.
I would imagine she would wake up, but more with this more weirded out. It's not like a scary nightmare, but it's just weird. So I think unconscious wise she would wake up just to process a bit. And would probably, at least in mind, because I don't want to wake Dottie, just like whispered, that was not helpful. What
Can
on
you do
earth
me
are
a
you trying to tell me?
favor and roll on education with disadvantage?
Okay. Because at least Alice is quite sure she was a wolf, because the description fits also with the area. And I have another idea what it is, but I'm not sure if Alice would have education.
I think you've got quite a high education value.
Yeah,
don't you?
education. I have a success.
Okay, so what is your guess? Your out of game guess?
Fenrir, the
Yeah.
big wolf.
That is correct, and
So we are
that is
in
actually what you
northern
saw.
mythology.
And
since
I would
Alice, we
yes.
had a little dabble in the northern, and Fenrir is quite prominent there. So I suspect that would be like a back noise, but no.
And the fact that you did an education role at disadvantage and you still passed, so Alice knows this.
Also with
and you
swallowing
make this
the sun.
association because the swallowing the sun is a dead giveaway, and being a wolf and being very big, and kind of like the landscape is northern, frozen wastes, that kind of thing. So you have probably seen yourself as Fenrir, son of Loki.
I think she would then whisper again, talking to the two sisters, if they are even there to listen. Why the northern gods?
Can you do me a favor and do an idea roll?
That is a normal success.
Okay, because you also met his sister, Hale. And she talked about him to you. She said that she had two siblings, Jormungandr, a very large snake, and a wolf, Fenris. And the gods and Odin cast both of them out and sent her to guard Hel, or to guard the underworld, which then took her name and became Hel. So you have heard of him recently because his sister spoke to you.
But still, why do they have a connection to the missing sibling thingy? But she would probably she would be lying awake for a little while, and she would be like, just in case I am having visions too, just to let you know, maybe talk to the northern gods, either Hale or Big Wolf or whoever, maybe they know more. And she will be like, I will remember this. I will need to tell Dottie tomorrow morning. But she will look over to Dottie, because I'm quite sure we will share a tent.
Yeah.
Is Dottie just deep at sleep, or is she like?
I checked against her POW, because it's not sanity really, and she's at 52 over 85, so she's deep asleep. She didn't feel anything, and if she is dreaming, then she's not visibly dreaming, if you know what I mean. Maeve has of course realized that you've woken up, and maybe even depending on if you moved in your sleep, in your dream, she's now cozying up to you and purring loudly.
I will just absentmindedly stroke her fur, and I think Alice Brain would like to find a sense in this, which she can't, because what the heck? And over that, I think she will fall back asleep.
So at some point you wake up. I guess that there's a tent routine, kind of probably breakfast at 8. So basically you would have a little traveling alarm clock, and you set it so that you always wake up with everybody else. And so you wake up. So does Dottie, because the alarm goes off.
How did you sleep?
She stretches. She says, actually, I slept quite well. Well, not just quite well. I slept really well. I mean, I have to say that since we've been here, I've been sleeping like a log. Maybe it's that coca. Well, no, that actually keeps you awake. But maybe it's the good air. I don't know.
I'm not sure if I'm now the one with the visions or I just have very crazy dreams.
Why?
I dreamt of the icy rivers.
You saw them too.
Yes, and I will describe exactly what I've seen from which perspective. And
Oh.
now the northern gods are mixed in this as well.
Well, I mean, the three sisters do exist in the northern mythology realm. We know that, but
Why would Fenrir do? Why? I don't know.
well, I mean, what you described is Fenris bringing about the twilight of the gods, the end of days. He swallows the sun, and then there's mayhem, and people get killed, and everybody dies, and then nothing happens.
What do you mean with nothing happens?
Because the two of you were actually reading the prose Edda way back when, so Dottie knows this too, and she says, according to legend, and you also spoke to, remember you spoke to the, when you got the staves and you went to the rune expert in London, he explained this to you. According to legend, there is one god, son of Odin and Frigg, named Balder, and he couldn't be harmed, but Loki kind of twisted it so that he could, and he dies.
Yeah.
And he's sent to Hel, and Hel never gives up anyone, but she makes a deal with Odin and says, I'm going to give up your son, bring him back to life, which you normally wouldn't do, if every living being and all the dead things cry for him. And it is the tears of the third sister, the mother of tears, that basically then bring about this, that everyone joins in. If she is not there and she doesn't cry, Balder stays in Hel, which means that what should happen after the twilight of the gods, namely him returning, making the world whole and bringing back all of the Norse gods, but bringing about Christianity can't happen because he's not there. So what's happened now is, if this is true, you think, if this is true, if for 1 second you accept that this would be true, someone has altered the fate of the gods, which is the one thing that cannot happen, because the gods' fate, according to what you learned, is written by mankind and will repeat over and over and over again because they don't have free will.
So who is messing with the gods? Because it must be someone powerful.
Another god? Because it's certainly not a human, right?
But who would want that part of the gods to change? Who would make a win out of it?
She looks into space and she says, you know what would be required to find this out? A sleuth. This is work for a PI. Who done it? And she smiles widely. Not an evil smile, but she smiles at you. Now, if we only had one of those.
You mean a PI? We have 2 of them, but we don't have the material we need because we are in the wrong part of the world. At the moment, we are focusing on Maya and Aztec history, not Nordic mythology.
What I can tell you is probably the gods will not go anywhere. We have all the time in the world. Unless, of course, at some point we run out of water.
Well, we will see. Still, if the sisters are listening in, they might have another clue on what to look at. Still weird.
Very. Make a sanity, make a power check for me, please.
Success?
Okay, good. Let's check Dottie.
With a 44, I've seen much weirder things happen.
She rolled a 40 as well.
Yeah.
So what you have noticed, besides everything else that has been going on, it may be the coca, but this urge to drink has kind of dampened a little bit.
Okay, that's good.
I think probably the physical addiction in your case was a lot less than it would be with opium.
Yes.
Because alcohol, I think, it's more the mental thing because you do feel good and it's also easy and so on. But maybe also this purpose that the 2 of you are following, and maybe also the fact that you are now that you're able to share these new experiences with somebody, whereas in the previous 4 months you were doing all of this on your own, so you couldn't just go home in the evening and say, oh, listen what happened to me today, or this it happened to the 2 of us together, like this sharing of experiences. You feel a lot better in yourself.
Yeah,
and so does Dottie.
I think also Alice is not worried sick every day about Pamela and Dottie, because she had no idea who was and who was suffering. So now she knows Pamela is doing fine, and she can see every day how Dottie is doing. So she's still worried, but it's not as excessive, because if you can't see the other side, you make up all the worst case scenarios in your brain.
Yeah.
So I think in between Alice was like, Dottie's probably already dead and I don't know it, and things like that. So I think here it's much easier to... I think the anchor point that you put is probably a vice versa thing. So Dottie is also an anchor for Alice, even though she probably doesn't really realize it.
And so after you've had this exchange, it's time for breakfast. And then Morris announces, so today I'm very excited because we are all going down to, going north to the, sorry, I need to find out what it's called because I forgot, to the Cenote Sagrado. And we are going to lower someone down to see what's down there. So if you are willing, we can lower anyone down. And he looks at everyone, and people are quite excited because the idea is that you've seen this before in another cenote. What they do is they kind of like have a pulley system set up over it, and then they strap you in, and then you go down. And both Mrs. Morris has gone down to basically draw some stuff as well. She's very adventurous. She's a lot like you, only she's older than you and a little bit more settled. But she's, I suppose, someone you would get along with really well, because she is like out there, you know. She knows how to shoot. She knows how to drive cars, you know. She swears like a sailor. She's a little bit like Pamela in that regard.
My type of girl, I see, I see.
And she smokes, and she chews tobacco. She doesn't chew coca. She chews tobacco. And so basically, Dottie looks at you and she says, well, I would like to go down and just see it for myself. What do you think?
Let's give it a try. My legs should not hinder us on that.
No, because I think you would just be
pulled
up and down. So
that's totally fine.
And he says, all right then. It's about a 1.5 hour march to get there, but it's going to be leisurely. So my suggestion is we leave straight away. Just get ready. Let's get going. I've got packed lunches already prepared. And then we will go down to the cenote and see what we can see.
Alice will pack her compact camera, so not the big one, because
Yes.
but
Yeah.
the compact she will still put in, although she knows if we're going down there, lighting will be an issue. And we clearly have our notebooks with us with pencil, at least to take notes or make sketches or whatever.
And you make your way to the Cenote Sagrado, and I would say with a look at the time, this is a good place to stop for today, and then see in 2 weeks' time what you find at, or inside, or at the bottom of the Cenote.
We will see. Thank you for going on a slightly varied adventure.
Well, I hope that you
Our
enjoyed it,
ladies.
because I do hope that
enjoyed
you're
it.
not that this is not too boring.
No, I really enjoy it, and I think it's a good also place for Alice and Dodgy to connect again and work again together.
And
I'm looking
it's very
forward.
different.
I'm curious, and the freaking sisters are still there.
Yes, because they're everywhere. We would like to thank you all for watching, for listening. Greetings to everybody who's enjoying this content and giving us plenty of thumbs up and nice comments. And we really like the fact that you're enjoying what we're doing, because we're mainly also doing it for ourselves, if I may say so myself. And we will talk to you again in 2 weeks' time. And of course, also check out our other content, because there's plenty on our channel. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.